Yeah, the commander got that transmission cut off, and he took it as he needed to fire nuclear warheads on America, and uh, he kind of just didn't feel right doing it because his whole entire crew was pretty much urging him to do it, and he just didn't feel like it was a good thing to do it. So he kind of waited it out and said he would give it another hour, and if he didn't hear anything by that time, he would do it. Well, that hour came and passed, and he was getting ready to press the button to fire the missiles, and some came through that told him not to do it, that there was something going on their end, and whatever he had received was just misinformed, and he almost started World War III because of his
Basically,
emotions.
because of radio static.
Yeah, his emotions and everything else kept him from starting World War III. And America's kind of came close to starting it as well. It's not like it was only Russia that was doing it.
And it's like if AI got that command and they only got part of it.
Yeah, they would have just set it off. Yeah, it would have been game over. And like I said earlier, is AI isn't going to care if humankind gets erased.
It doesn't affect them.
Yeah, no, it's just humankind. It might destroy power to the AI, but like we've already established, AI doesn't really have emotions, at least that I know of, anyways. So that's the thing, is people who have emotions and that are in charge, I think, is way better for any country going forward, pretty much forever. I think should always be a human making any kind of decision like that. But yeah, there was just so many things that almost happened, but because of human intuition and emotion, kept it from happening, and because of that, we now have the world where we are today. Not because of like not the inflation and everything like that. Just everybody's still alive, kind of. Nobody's trying to fight a nuclear winter or anything like that.
Yeah, it's basically like, well, that kind of goes back to if AI started World War III and it was better for the greater good. It's like I'd rather live in a world with tension than live in a world that's getting nuked.
Everybody wants, well, maybe not everybody. I personally would like world peace, but there's always going to be some sort of tension somewhere.
Definitely.
And I'd rather
people
have
can't
that.
Agree.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody grows up, they fight with their siblings. Yeah. Now you escalate that to a national conflict. People fight with their siblings.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was real. And like I've said earlier, my history's kind of faded. But I watched a movie where in the movie, 3 cousins were in charge of different countries. One was in charge of Russia, one was in charge of Germany, and one was in charge of somewhere else. I can't remember where it was. Great Britain. And these cousins, they played as little kids together, like every cousin would. And as they got older, they all became the ruler of Russia, Great Britain, and Germany. Well, they had different views for their countries, and they started wars because of it. And they were also being manipulated by the people in their power, kind of like how we spoke earlier. Joe Biden could be possibly being manipulated by somebody in his administration. But, and like I said, I don't know if it's true, if it happened. I'm just throwing it out there.
We're just a couple dumb guys from
rural
America.
I'm just throwing it out there. Like it's something that's definitely possible that could have happened. Like 3 cousins could have grew up, and then they had a dispute over some sort of land, and they started a war because of it. AI gets into a dispute or feels like there's a threat somewhere. They're just going to want to take it out and get rid of it all completely.
Yep.
So I personally think just having, and humans make mistakes, but those mistakes can be not completely fixed, but they can be mended. And yeah, sure, there might be bloodshed and stuff like that, but it can be fixed to a certain point. It's just not going to be forgotten, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I just think humankind should always be in power. There shouldn't be any kind of AI in any kind of form of power, not even for a business standpoint. I don't think AI should be in power there either.
Well, yeah, it's like AI has access to
Way
the
more than
entire
what it
internet.
should, yeah.
So it's like every encyclopedia ever written, plus a bunch of bullshit from a bunch of dumb people.
Yeah,
you know?
and there's so much propaganda. They could fall for propaganda.
Yep.
You don't
and then
know.
they have all the different tax codes. Like if an
Mhm.
AI was running a business, they'd probably file for bankruptcy right away,
hmm
just because financially they're in the clear. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But at the same time, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It hasn't happened that I'm aware of, so it's,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's still
I
just like in your mind, what could happen?
Yeah. I personally, for anything, AI should just stay as an app that I think there was an app going around that you could have an AI girlfriend. Just leave it there.
Yeah.
Have it be that.
If you really need to go to AI to get a girlfriend,
Yeah.
whatever. That's your business.
And a lot of people do it just to talk and have some sort of
and some
resemblance
people,
of having a conversation,
some
because it's
people
not
that's all
easy.
they need.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in today's world, like
Mhm.
as a man, especially, and that's something I want to talk to you about as well. As a man, you have all these double standards.
Mhm.
It's like, say you wanted to approach a woman at a bar, it's like you go up to her and you approach her and you're some kind of asshole, cocky piece of shit.
Mhm.
But if you're too afraid to approach her, then you don't have the confidence.
Yeah,
that
you're
they're
seen
looking
as
for.
meek and everything
And
else.
it's like, how do you find that middle ground?
Yeah, and that was something as me growing up. I won't mention any of their names, but I was the kid
please
that
don't.
no, I was the kid who went up and asked women out. I'm not the best looking dude, but I had the confidence to at least go ask.
Yeah.
And if I didn't want to ask them because they were around a group of people, I'd write a letter or something and have them say yes or no. And yeah, it would suck.
George Strait style, baby.
Yeah. And it hurt, like getting rejected. If you got rejected,
yeah, but it's like that's it. It's just like not this thing.
You get rejected, but
you move on.
You might think about it for a day, maybe 2 or 3. Who cares? But you got rejected. You had more confidence than what a lot of other guys do, and then
and they say picking up chicks. Like I know that sounds kind of cringy, but
yeah,
picking up chicks, it's like just approaching and making conversation puts you ahead of 95% of other men.
Oh yeah.
I don't know the exact number, but it's like in the 90s for sure of men that are too afraid because like I was saying, those double standards.
Yeah,
and then that's fear of rejection as well.
And believe me, I had plenty of fear of being rejected asking, but it's something you kind of got to overcome. And yeah, it's hard, but especially after your first time getting rejected.
Yeah.
I had moved schools, and like a year into that school, I had asked a girl out who I genuinely felt connected to, and it just kind of fell flat on my face, and it made me afraid to ask again. But once you overcome that fear, you kind of get more and more confidence, and it's not like a little bit of confidence, like okay, cool, I was able to do it. I could probably do it again in a couple more years. No, it was a big leap. You felt the confidence to ask that same year, and you might have even asked that same chick, and she might have changed her answer.
Definitely.
But that's the thing is, once you overcome certain things, especially as a man, you get more confidence, or you learn ways to get around it. And there's a lot of double standards as guys, where a lot going around recently as men aren't allowed to show their feelings. I was definitely not allowed to cry when I was a little kid, and if my dad listens to it, he's probably going to say something to me about it. But
he's like, "Why are you telling people that shit?"
if I cried or something, he would. He was a military guy, so you weren't allowed to cry. But in certain things you were, and he made that clear.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna
he's
make
like,
that
you're
clear.
still a kid. He's still
Yeah.
empathetic.
When
You're
I
still
was
his son.
when I was 9, I lost my brother and my cousin. I cried, obviously.
Yeah,
I
of
didn't
course.
see my dad cry, but I know he did.
Yeah,
But that's something
That's-
that he knew as a man. You can't be seen crying because that's
well,
how he
especially
was
when you're head of
raised.
the house.
Yeah, and
you have to be the strong one.
yeah,
And that's
and
what's hard. That falls on men's shoulders
yeah,
a lot.
and a lot of women don't understand it, and I don't expect them to.
Right, of course.
But that's something they definitely need to be aware of. Is men lose their kids, but you won't see them cry about it. Yeah, they might. My dad took up drinking. Obviously, it's something tragic.
Yeah, I mean,
and I wouldn't doubt anybody.
I have a daughter.
Yeah.
That's like the worst possible.
I've watched my 3-year-old, maybe even a 2-year-old son get flown away in a helicopter for the rhinovirus, and it killed me because of my brother and cousin passing away. But I didn't cry. I didn't freak out because it made my son want to get in the helicopter.
Yeah.
And he accepted it. He had a blast too.
Really?
From what they were saying, they're like, he was the best person at this age we've ever taken in a helicopter. And it killed me, but I never cried, even though I wanted to. But you stay strong for the people around you because it gives them that sense of hope.
Yeah, it's
hope, protection,
it's
whatever
like you
you
have
want
a
to
rock
say.
you can lean on.
Yeah. And I understand like all the pain it comes with, but a lot of guys just can't do it because they've got to be seen as that rock.
Mm-hmm.
But as a kid growing up, I wasn't allowed to cry for certain things. But like I said, just on that little rant is I was also allowed to cry on certain things.
Yeah.
But getting a cut or something, well, stop being a dumbass.
Yeah.
Shit won't happen.
Yeah, I feel like we've all heard that.
Yeah. I watched my brother when I was a little kid. He built his own bike, super excited, wanted to go for a ride. So we're riding our bikes. His bike fell apart. He ate shit. There was gravel embedded in his forehead. He was bawling. And then my dad's like, well, build it right next time. It's shit like that.
And that's the best way to teach your kids stuff too. So
you learn from your mistakes.
Definitely.
But certain things that a lot of people don't understand is there's a really big double standard for men, and
and of
I'm
course
sure there's a double standard for women.
Yeah, especially with like makeup and stuff like that.
And it's probably controversial, but like the duties around the house, stuff like that. There's double standards there.
And there shouldn't be.
No, there really shouldn't.
You're both adults. You're both taking care of the place.
And I'm definitely not the one who should be talking, because I mean, my job, I take out garbage and then I ask if they would like help. And I don't always get to help, because if I do help them, I get bitched at for doing it a different way than what they do.
But I was about to say that you always hear about it. It's
but that's the thing. There's double standards in every situation, but there's a lot more for men that mostly women don't normally see. But there's been a bunch of women that I've been seeing on TikTok who have been kind of being more open to seeing all that, and they've genuinely made
kind of sticking up for us.
They're
real
Roma
bros.
Army is one of them. I love watching her videos. I don't watch her religiously, but I believe that's her TikTok, and I believe her YouTube. I think somebody's trying to get her banned either on TikTok or YouTube. I don't know what one. But she sticks up for men quite a bit, because there's women who use men a lot, and a lot more than what they like to take admittance for.
Yeah.
But then there's another chick who just kind of talks about men's feelings and stuff she's heard over time. And then she started to study men over the course of years. And the reason why she started is because a guy walked up to her book signing to get 3 books signed for her wife and 2 daughters, or for his wife and 2 daughters. And he said, you should really start doing this for men too, because my wife and 2 daughters would rather see me die on my white horse than see me standing on the ground. And that's something that a lot of women don't see. But that's a lot more women have become more uh, open-eyed to that situation, and I think it's a cool thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's really nice to have that voice from someone who's not a man. Because when men talk about that kind of stuff, they just look like assholes.
Yeah, and they
that's
seem self-conceited and stuff.
Definitely.
And there was another thing I was going to talk about. There's a girl who transitioned into being a man, and she ended up committing suicide because of all the hate she would get from all these women. Mm-hmm. Like, she had her voice deep, and she genuinely looked like a guy. And she got so much hate from women, and she just got bullied so much that she ended up taking her own life because she couldn't handle it. And that's genuinely what men go through on a normal day-to-day basis.
Yeah,
maybe not every day, but it's pretty often.
It's frequent for sure.
Yeah.
Let's move into our last, I think it's our last topic, ghosts and religion. So I guess we will touch on religion first. Are you religious?
I'm a Christian. I'm not
a practicing. Or...
No, I genuinely should go to church more than what I do. I barely go, and if I do, it's for my fiance's family. They like going to church, and I don't have a problem with it. Even my daughter wants to go, and I have no issues with her wanting to go.
No, it's great.
I went a decent amount as a kid. That's where I met most of my family, even though as a kid I thought they were just people who were at the church.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were family members, but I've been baptized, and I'm a Christian. I just don't normally talk about it because I don't like getting into arguments with people on atheism and Christianity, Buddhism, Muslims, anything like that. But I genuinely like to hear about other people's religions. Like, I started to fix up a house here in the town we live in, and the owner of it is, I want to say Muslim, but he's from Egypt. And I got to hear a lot about his culture, and his religion is pretty close to Christianity.
Yeah.
But it's genuinely interesting hearing about other people's religions. But I am religious. It's not a very prominent thing that's in my life. But I pray every so often, not as much as what I should. I don't say grace.
Mm-hmm.
It's just never been something that was ever set in stone in my household, like growing up.
And I feel like that's a big part of it too.
Yeah,
it's just how
your upbringing has a lot to do with what you do in life as far as religion, and honestly a lot of things too. But yeah, I just tend to stay out of it. I personally have experiences where I feel like something intervened in my life. Like I had mentioned earlier, my brother and cousin had passed away. I was going to school one day in high school, so I started driving, just got a truck, and I was driving to school. It's super foggy. You couldn't even see a foot in front of you that day. And as I was driving, I started going down the road towards a stop sign. I had about 20 minutes before I hit that stop sign. All of a sudden, just getting out of my town, I could see 30 feet in front of me. But right at the bed of my truck, right behind the glass, you couldn't see nothing. But I could see 30 feet in front of me. And it was like that the whole way to school. And after I got to school and got out of my truck, I couldn't see anything. And
isn't that something?
Yeah, and that's why I genuinely believe in my religion, is because I truly feel like something intervened. I can't explain that. That's why I'm saying, for aliens and going into ghosts, it's some I could not explain.
Yeah.
And that's why I genuinely believe in my religion. But like I said, I'm not the most
Just not
practicing.
super active in it.
Yeah.
See, and I'm the same way. I'm Christian, believe in God, believe Jesus is
Yeah.
our Lord and Savior. But I don't practice as much as I should either.
Yeah. But then there's been things, and this could tie in for ghosts. When I think it was not even a year after they had passed away, we were up celebrating Thanksgiving up at my grandfather's, and he lives in the middle of nowhere. You don't even get cell phone reception 10 minutes away from his house.
Okay.
And he lives in between two huge mountains, or you could probably just call them really big hills. But we all had Thanksgiving dinner. We were all going to bed for the night, and I'm trying to fall asleep. And all of a sudden, I hear my name start from a really low whisper up to the loudest yell I've ever heard, and I sounded like my brother. And I don't know how to explain it, but it freaked me out enough to wake up one of my parents. I don't remember who it was, but it was enough to wake me up and keep me up for a while because it just genuinely freaked me out. But I can't explain. I've never heard of anybody having an experience like it either. But I mean, you could take that into religion, or it's not really religion, but you could take it into a ghost aspect.
That's what I was going to ask: is do you think that was some sort of divine intervention from God, or do you think it was your brother's spirit? Or
I personally think it was possibly my brother just trying to, maybe saying a final goodbye or something in his own way. I don't I don't truly know how you could explain it, and if he was trying to point some out to me to help me out in life, I didn't see it, and I'm feeling, but it's just something I couldn't explain. But that's why
maybe it was him, like, I'm here.
Yeah, and I think it was. There's so many things I could say, and my dad listening to this one specifically might disagree, but we were sitting at my grandmother and grandfather's shortly after the accident had happened, and I was sitting in their dining room, and my dad just kind of froze. He said, "I just seen Jacob standing behind your left shoulder." But he said he was looking somewhere else, and then he kind of looked over, and it was a quick glance. He was standing behind me, and then it was gone.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps.
And I remember that just because I was 9. I carried my brother's casket.
Yeah.
And it was a hard day for me, that's why I remember it, is because it was my brother.
Yeah.
And hearing that he was standing behind me, and then it was gone. Just, it makes you feel good, but then it makes you wonder why I didn't get to see it either, kind of thing. But that's where my dad might disagree. He might just doubt the fact that he even said that, because he doubts that a lot from the things I say. And I probably say a lot of off the wall stuff from my childhood that I remember. But certain things like that just kind of stuck with me, like the whispering of my name, him standing behind me, the truck incident, all that. It's something I'll never forget, because I genuinely feel like something happened, something intervened with me on my drive to school that day. Something woke me up from sleep that day, and then my dad seeing that there's no fluke of him mistaking identity of his son that he just lost not that long ago.
And a lot of people would chalk it up to, like, oh, it's grief, but it's like, if you start hallucinating like that, you generally keep hallucinating. If you're losing your mind or something.
Yeah, and it's not like he's said anything like that.
It's not like he's lately. Like, there he is.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, I think I just saw him.
Yeah, it was honestly just the one time that I've heard him say anything about it. My cousin, she had said that she seen him standing in her doorway when she was going to sleep one day, like 5 months after it had happened. And that was when I started, well, why isn't he visiting me? I'm his brother, kind of thing. But he might have already made his stop kind of thing, and I just wasn't there to see it, or I just wasn't paying attention. But that's the thing. There's so many. It could be chalked up to grief. It's tragic, and everybody goes through it, but not that young, and it's not so memorable. And I don't go through that now. I still grieve over it. I make a post every single year, and it brings me to tears writing it out every single year. But it's not something that I grieve over every single day.
Right, you have to keep the past in the past, but you still have to acknowledge.
You learn to live with it, and
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it's not something you forget. Like, the hardest thing for me, losing my brother and cousin, was I don't remember what they sound like. I don't know. I can remember what they look like because of pictures, but I just can't remember their voice. I can't remember their smell. That's what's hard for me.
I feel like that's one of the more tough parts about loss.
And it is, because you got pictures for memories. You don't have. A lot of people don't have voice recordings for memories. Some people get videos. There's a couple. I think there's a couple videos that we might have of my brother. We have a hand mold that they made a cast of when he had passed away at the hospital. They made a mold of his hand. We've got that. That's not something that a lot of people get, but that it's just something that everybody kind of goes through, is you don't get to remember certain things, and that's what's hard. Is you got to learn to live with it, but you also got to learn that you're not going to be able to remember something else as well. So it's hard no matter what way you look at it.
Definitely. Loss, especially close loss like that, is just crazy, honestly. Have you ever had any other ghastly encounters aside from him?
I personally can't say I have, and that's why I would put myself more on the skeptical side of ghosts. Because believe me, I'm definitely open into being exposed to, say, like a haunted lighthouse, which I had just watched on YouTube
really
a couple weeks ago. In the videos I was watching, there was stuff happening where even I sitting there was like, yeah, well, that could be debunked as something else. But then they sit there and they go through the videos and they're like, how is this happening when we just proved that it's not happening by doing everything that's possible for it to happen to happen? And they can't get it to repeat in the same way. And that's just something I would like to experience, is going to something like that and getting myself exposed to paranormal activity in general, because it would be genuinely interesting to have something happen to you. It'd scare the shit out of me, but it would be really cool.
That would be pretty cool. I think that's pretty much it for today.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else you wanted to touch on that we didn't get to cover enough.
Honestly, what's your take on ghosts?
Oh, I'm a firm believer.
Are you?
Oh, yeah. I've had too many weird things happen to not believe in it.
See, that's something that I was kind of genuinely curious about, because you, as far as I know, do have a couple videos up at least of you going to some abandoned buildings or something like that.
Yeah, so the other YouTube channel, Demons Love Sonic, it kind of turned into us just being goofballs, but at the beginning what it was is we were going to abandoned insane asylums and that kind of stuff. And it's really creepy and almost breathtaking at first when you first do it. And then there's the risk because you're entering a building without permission.
Yeah.
That's abandoned. And I didn't have anything too scary happen in any of those. But at the same time, just being there, there's like a really eerie feeling that goes through you, and you feel like you need to cleanse yourself afterwards.
Yeah. So around us, we've got one of the, I think it's the third most haunted spot in Illinois.
It closed down though.
Yeah, I heard about that. But back the time that I had heard about it, my dad and I had went and actually spoke to the owner.
Yeah.
And met with him, talked to him for an hour or two. And after we had left, we didn't have anything happen as we were sitting there talking to the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And nor did we after he had went and gotten something that he was searching for. We were just sitting there in his property, just kind of waiting to see if something would happen. And he even said, like, you asking for something to happen is very rarely going to work. Because they could just be sitting there listening to you, and that's all they want to do. They could be malevolent and move stuff around, throw stuff at you. But we didn't have anything happen to us. But after leaving there, I remember saying, there's no spirits allowed to follow me home. Because it might have just been like a way to back myself up, make sure nothing followed me home.
It's kind of like if you're playing a Ouija board, you
Yeah.
say goodbye.
Yeah. You close your session pretty much.
It's like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'll leave you alone.
I won't come back.
Civil. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But it was definitely somewhere you kind of felt like you needed to end it on good terms, kind of, and just not make sure nothing followed you back, kind of thing. But that's the thing, is I would genuinely be kind of interested in going to an insane asylum that's apparently haunted, or a lighthouse.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
To do.
And the thing is I want to do it with my dad. I mean, you're more than welcome to come with, because I think it would be really interesting.
Yeah, maybe that's something we can plan out after the podcast.
Is I want to go in with just the people who are going to be involved in it. Nobody else, no camera holders, anything. It's just strictly us, and going in and getting any experience possible, and then making it as realistic for everybody as possible. I sit there at my parents' house when we're visiting. They like watching Crazy Train. Who's the singer? I can't remember his name. Ozzy Osbourne, yeah. Him and his wife and his son, the Osbournes react or something like that.
Okay.
They all sit there and react to like Bigfoot videos, ghost videos, paranormal videos. There was one where they were watching a group of guys recording the night sky that looked like it was lit up, and then it just turned off. And they're asking each person how they feel about it. Doing stuff like that is what I would like to do, because these guys are celebrities. I want it to be genuine reactions from people who nobody know anything about or care about.
And that's kind of what I was going for with this podcast too, is like just basically the thoughts of the everyday man.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of people that are controlled by political psychos.
Controlled by any kind of person, money, anything. That's a genuinely good idea for a podcast. Somebody who has no following, stuff like that, who might have their videos just randomly by chance picked up and go viral.
Yeah. And it's like, worst case scenario, I talk to you about stuff, I interview a few people, and my friends watch it and they hear it. That's worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's
maybe people will get mad that I have an open mind. I don't know. I don't care.
That's the thing. I have an open mind. I have a closed mind on certain subjects. That's the thing. But that's normal life for anybody. You're going to be open to certain things. You're going to be closed to everything else.
Definitely. Oh, I know the other topic I wanted to talk about.
All right.
Jeffrey Epstein's list just dropped.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. I don't have a whole lot of knowledge on Jeffrey Epstein. I've heard of him. Don't get me wrong.
You definitely heard the name.
Yeah.
So basically, guy had an island with sex slaves that were like kids.
Yeah, okay. So that's pretty much what I've heard. But
and they're still doing the court stuff. I think he like shot himself in the back of the head in jail twice
twice.
to commit suicide.
He shot himself in the back of the head twice.
That's why I did this. Because
see,
I'm not buying that.
Twice.
Okay.
So
like it's extremely fishy that he did that.
So
and then, but his list just came out. Or part of
and
it.
is his list like a bunch of people who have been to this island?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's basically like his associates and stuff. And there's a few people on the list that they're like they didn't do anything, but they knew him basically.
Right.
But on the list they have.
I think Tom Hanks was on there, if I remember hearing about it.
I think so too. There's a lot of like A-list celebrities on there. Our current president, is on that list. I don't know if he has anything incriminating. Past president does have stuff that they're saying is incriminating. Bill Clinton, they're saying he was involved in the bad stuff. His wife, all kinds of people. It's just really crazy. So either they're just going to be like, oh yeah, it's all fake and it's never happened. Or our country's about to change a lot. Like even Stephen Hawking's on the list.
Really?
The dude couldn't talk, he was in a chair. But he's, I'm going to be your master. It's like, I don't know. I take it with a grain of salt until anything's proven.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I like to do is I try to get as much facts as possible. But for me, I know people have been shot in the face or shot in the head. My grandfather, both of them have been shot in the head. Both were in Vietnam. They were both shot in the head. Both survived. People can survive being shot in the back and shot in the head.
But the back of the head twice.
Yeah, but
point blank twice.
That's the thing.
Just doing it once is like.
And I don't even know where the trajectory of the bullet, even the first bullet, went, because I didn't really know anything about that. But that's the thing is, yeah, it's possible people can survive that, and that might be why there was a secondary round that he decided to put in the back of his head. But that's kind of shocking.
And extremely unlikely.
Yeah, it's people who get shot in the head and survive are very lucky to begin with.
Yeah.
And there's been people who have survived a shotgun to the face and survived.
Yeah.
But even then, they sit there and they say, I don't know how I'm alive. I'm extremely lucky.
Mm-hmm. But they weren't like conscious enough to put another bullet in there.
No. The one guy that I do know, I don't personally know them, but who I know who did get shot in the face with a shotgun said he blacked out and then woke up thinking everything was okay. Mm-hmm. Like nothing happened. Okay. And then there was another guy who woke up one day and he had a headache, and his wife was like, oh, are you sure you're okay? Do you just want to stay at home, go back to sleep, don't go to work, kind of thing? He's like, yeah, I think I might call off for today. And then as his day went on, his headache got progressively worse. So he decided, like, hey, I think I need you to take me to the hospital. Something's wrong. And she tried getting him to stay at home and just kind of sleep it off. You come to find out, she shot him in the head as he was asleep because she either wanted his money for whenever he passed away. I can't think of what it's called right now. But she might have been trying to claim that, or she just got tired of him and she was just trying to get rid of him. And she shot him in the head, but the dude woke up with a headache, went to the hospital. They said, yeah, there's a bullet in your head. We need to go get it out.
Holy shit.
And the guy didn't know that he got shot. And that's the thing. The people who have been shot, they don't know. There's been people in the military who have been shot with a sniper round like 7.62 or even bigger caliber,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hit them in the head with their helmet on, it's knocked them out. It might not have killed them, but it knocked them out. They don't really remember much be like after it happened, except for what happened before, and then they go off of what they were told happened after the fact that they blacked out. Like your body blacks blacks your mind out to forget about certain traumas, so you're not experiencing it down the line. And that's
crazy.
It's hard to believe that he was conscious enough. Yeah, it's hard to believe that he was conscious enough to put 2 in the back of his head. I'm not gonna go too far into it because I don't know a lot about it, but that's insane to think he had enough consciousness to put 2.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how to feel about that.
Yeah, the timing too is like someone did it. Someone didn't want him to talk.
But I mean, now if they're coming out with this list and everything, you're kind of something's gonna end up coming out eventually. Whether it's just fake, we just were associated with them, kind of thing. But that's if there's a lot of celebrities on there.
Yep.
It's kind of hard to fake a lot of that, especially if we have a past president, current president, which they could easily have just been business partners at one point in time,
or even like maybe he met him and his name got in his address book.
Yeah, and the thing is,
it's not like he was just nobody,
right?
He was big.
And the thing is that this list could genuinely be just a lunch order at one day.
Yeah, who
knows?
That
somebody's just like, oh, this is a list for this island that had this going on. But I mean, if this shit's starting to get proven, then something's going on.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know how to feel about it. Just
we'll let the courts figure it out, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's all we really can do for it.
We're about 15 minutes shy of 2 hours, so I'm thinking we should probably cut it.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, but you've been a good guest. You've kept me entertained. Hopefully everyone else is entertained with us.
I hope so.
So I guess we'll call it.
Sounds
Thanks.
Good. Yep.